Hello and welcome to another episode of Culture Shock. I am your host, Ricardo Picena, aka the Meditating Cowboy, and this is our sixth podcast. Actually, it's our fifth podcast. And we're retouching on unconditional love. Podcast number 3 was on unconditional love. But I felt like it was not only too short, I wanted to touch on some answers and questions that people were giving me that I feel like will help others piece more of the puzzle together, because I know for sure it helped me. So, as you know, my intention and mission for this podcast is to share as much information as possible, help each other grow, since we humans been doing that since the beginning of time. And I just felt like, fuck it, why not? And unconditional love, there's not an actual definition, but I'm gonna retouch on it. The same thing that I did on podcast number 3 was affection without any limitations. So one of the questions I think Heather asked me is, what if your unconditional love is not received or accepted? And I think my answer would be, at some point if you don't want somebody to force you to do anything, I would suggest you take the same highway. You don't want to force anybody to do anything. So you want to kind of figure out what would be best for you. And what I would do if my unconditional love cannot not be received. You know what I mean? If you truly unconditionally love somebody, it doesn't matter what they do for you, or if they even want it. You just are always going to be there for them regardless. That's actual unconditional love. And but loving with expectations, then it causes this I don't even know what to call it, but it's, for me, would be an unfulfillment. And that's why I'm striving for unconditional love, because I'm tired of suffering through conditional love. For example, conditional love, in my opinion, would be like your stereotypical monogamous relationship, because we're together because we're providing something for each other, which is good. But sometimes the other person does not meet that expectation or that agreement I came up with. And now you're just there pretty much providing while not receiving. And of course that causes issues among relationships, couples. And it's understandable. And I would say it's probably, I think realizing what unconditional love means to you and how you could actually practice it would be my best answer. Because to me, what unconditional love is, it's whether somebody wants it or not, I'm still going to be there and provide that for them. It's hard. It's very hard. It's that's why I take a lot of pride in it, because it took me a long time to get to where I'm at emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I think one of the things to remember in life is that there's a polarity in life. So when you feel love, there's a polarity to love. What's the opposite of love would be like fear. So the fear of losing somebody hurts just as much as if you were loving them. And that's the polarity of life. You can't outrun that. Like, being aware of that does not help either. It does not ease the pain of living. It just, if anything, for me, it eases my knowledge of what's my next step in life. If this scenario or issue is harming me, and I know I need to get rid of it, how do I go to the next step? What information and what action do I need to take? And that's my answer to that. And how do you know when it's time to move on? And how do I go about it? It's always a matter of perception. I can't really tell you when it's time to move on, because we all have different levels of that we can take, or that we're willing to accept from other people, like the treatment from other people. But I believe daily positive affirmations will help you build a healthy ego, which goes back to podcast number 1. And I really don't know when it's time to move on. For me now, any lack of respect that I want and I don't get it, I just remove myself. You have to know your worth. If you don't, then you're going to get taken advantage of, which is part of life too. If that happens, you're just going to have to accept it and move on. But um, I don't know. I think it's always different. Now I feel like I'm more sensitive to that, to knowing when it's time to move on. So it just, to me, it's either, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, but it's the right thing for me. So that's why I'm trying to kind of get the point across that everybody's got their own perception on to when it's time to move on. I think if you're even asking yourself that question, that might be the answer. And I don't know. And like, say if I was in that position, yeah, that would be my answer. Like, if I even have to think, is it time to move on? That would be my answer. Be like, you know what, RP? I think it is time to move on. It's time to find, or like, first of all, you don't want to leave like angry. I believe that relationship should split the way y'all met. Y'all met each other. Hey, how are you? Y'all are happy. Y'all are loving. Same way. Whenever y'all leave, just, hey, it didn't work out. Thank you. And just separate. Of course, all this is easier said than done, but that's the manifestation to happiness, is putting that work and action behind it and reaching that blissfulness or fulfillment or happiness within you, or within you and your significant other. I want to give another example, at least an example of how I practice it. I know I gave some, but I want to give more examples on different areas in life. Preferably not intimate relationships, not family relationships, not business relationships. Let's just say meeting random people. Perfect. So people have trouble talking to people, and I used to be that way. Sometimes I still do. I'm in my mind and I'm trying to like plan stuff. It's hard for me. But when I'm like out and about trying to meet people, then I would say one thing that has helped me has been unconditional love. I know some of my ideas are thrown off for some, but I also know other people's ideas are thrown off for me. And if I don't control my emotions, the way I react, I could show that in body language and cause issues, and that's one thing I don't want to cause. I'm trying to gain more network, gain more people. So if I can learn how to communicate with people, it'll help me. Practicing unconditional love has actually helped me that. Because say I'm meeting somebody new, in my mind, it does not matter what they believe. I just want to meet this human and get to know who they are and learn from them. So that, to me, it's unconditional love. And even if they don't even care, or even if they don't believe anything I believe, it don't matter. They still have something to give to me. And if I'm open, I can listen more and I can grow better. And it's practical. All this is practical. So I think that's the best part, is that it's not just talk. You can actually put in the action behind it and see it. And I highly suggest a lot of people should do that. And I would love for y'all to document it and post it. I will follow y'all. I love, how awesome would that be? People being real instead of fake. Like fucking putting on a persona. If you're gonna put on a persona, I hope it's the right one. That's just so you don't harm yourself. And if you do, then you're just gonna have to come back and build your foundation and work your way back up. We all do that. I do that. I probably still do that sometimes now. You don't know till you fucking fall and then you figure it out. It's just how things go. Some people are just better though. I don't know. They're just highly gifted. And yeah. Let me see what else. Recap. Relatable. Let me see how I meet people. Let me see. Okay, my empowering question of the day. I'm going to go ahead and ask the question now, because I think it's all this to me ties together. So the question is, how do you take full responsibility and accountability for your life? Like, how do you take full responsibility and accountability for your thoughts, your emotions, your actions? You know, the way we carry ourselves. The reason that question matters, and to me, the reason I'm asking that is because that is probably one of the, if we're going through issues, it is because we're not taking responsibility or accountability for the stuff that we're thinking or even saying. We're putting shit out that we don't even know. We're subconsciously doing that. And I think if we start taking more accountability and responsibility for all of our thoughts and actions, and I think it would not only would you see a huge change in your life, but those around you, which to me that's love. Not only that, it's like a selfless act, because now you're empowering yourself, and others that love you around you are seeing how happy you are, and it's just you're giving them and making space for them to do the same. It only takes that one person to be who they want to be authentically and uniquely, and continue being that, to empower others, because sometimes we unfortunately we do care what other people think. If we didn't care, we probably would stop showering. We probably would stop doing certain things. But I think everything's balanced. So it's a matter of balancing. Like, figure out what you want to take pride in. Figure out what you really love and go all fucking in. The worst that can happen is you're going to lose friends that never really were your friends. You're going to meet people that can help you improve. Not that your life needs improvement, I'm just saying improve your life. And I think it starts with taking full responsibility, accountability, being a professional human being. Which, to me, that means treating others like you want to be treated. Just being loving. It's very practical. So, yeah, that is my empowering question of the day. My next podcast is going to be on self-awareness. And I'm very excited about that, because self-awareness is everything. And my gift is still the Meditating Cowboy stickers. Just send me your address on the email, the meditatingcowboy@gmail.com. And I'll send some. I'm still figuring out what else I could give. I actually believe in self-sustainability and doing more of what I have. So the less money I can spend, the more fulfilled I am, actually. It used to be backwards. I wanted to spend more money to feel fulfilled. So for me, this is a huge step. And I'm going to make it a longer podcast, though. Don't get me wrong, because it's only been 12 minutes, 12. But I just wanted to retouch up on unconditional love. And let me say something else that I truly believe. And this is, there is no science behind this. This is actually a innovative thought that I brought through my research. So I truly believe that cats and dogs were put in this world for us humans to understand what unconditional love really is. It's so hard to love another human unconditionally, and I honestly do not know if it's humanly possible. But what I do know is that cats and dogs, you love them unconditionally, and not only that, they love you unconditionally. A dog's love and a cat's love is totally different, but they still love you. I'm not proud of this, but when I used to have a Doberman, I didn't know how to train this fucker, and he will always get mad or get out of the land, and I would get mad. So we came back, I would hit him. He didn't know any better, and I didn't know any better. But after that, once I learned, I stopped. But what I realized, and it made me, that dog still loved me after that. And it was like, I broke down several times from experiencing that. And I mean, I'm glad I went through it, because I feel like a lot of people don't go through it, or they resist it even if they went through it. But I understood, like God or the universe or the quantum field gave me that download to let me know, is like, this is unconditional love. Now that's the dog's love. I had dogs, so if you know cats, they love you different. They just barely love to be petted once in a while, and then they take off. It's always on their term. The dogs, it's always on your term. So that innovative thought, I really think that cats and dogs were intentionally put in this world for us humans to learn what unconditional love is. Because a cat only lets you love on it as much as it wants, but yet you still love it, don't you? You love that. Dogs, same way. They let you love on them even if you don't want them to be on it. You have to literally train them to get the fuck off of you. And the cats, you literally have to train it to get on you. Isn't that weird how it's such a polarity, yet it's love, you know? I think that's one of my thoughts on the love that cats and dogs provide. And to teach us humans. Because don't forget, we humans are animals too. We just are conscious. We just know that we know that we're an animal. But the only difference between an actual animal and a human is our actions, and the fact that we can not act like an animal and treat other humans like they're any less of us. That's acting like an animal. But it takes that ascension from the body to know that you're an actual spirit and energy driving this fucking thing. So it's, again, it is work. It is definitely work. But one of the philosophers that I like to listen to, Alan Watts, and I've been piecing other things that I've learned, like language shapes perception. Alan Watts says that we need to stop speaking work as in work and call it play, because that's what it really is. You're playing. You just happen to get paid. But since language shapes perception, you call it work, even if you are getting paid for it, it kind of ruins that art, or that little I don't even know what to call it, that little, like the little motivation you get from doing something. Once you start monetizing and adding all these other things that are not even part of that art, it starts losing its value, at least within you. And I don't know if y'all experienced that yet on anything, but I experienced that on certain things. And I don't know if it's a good thing, to be honest with you, because I've dropped projects completely off in the middle of the thing just because I just felt like this ain't it. Like, I just felt something. And I know that's not good to just kind of drop things out of nowhere, but I also know it's good if you already know it's not you. So there's definitely a balance in that. And overall, I would say there's a balance in everything. You just have to figure out what's your best thing. And there's nothing like empirical knowledge, which means you experienced it. I could be telling y'all all this, but it don't matter until you experience it. But at least you would know, or have some kind of guidance, or maybe information as to what to expect. But you should always go into everything expecting nothing, and just being there for the moment, just not judging anything. Which, again, it's practical, but it's very hard, because now the way society, the way we're programmed now for the majority of the people is we use our eyes first, our senses, these two senses right here, like our eyes. We see first, and then we try to figure out if we like it with our eyes, then we try to interact with it. But if we can practice not putting a judgment on things based on what they look like, basically not judging a book by its cover, we can grow more, and we can avoid assumptions. A lot of things we do is assume a lot of things. Like we assume because we heard something that it must be true, and then we just start living life that way, and then we wonder why things aren't working out our way. It could be true, but maybe there's other things we're not putting into practice that could benefit the overall outcome of your life. And everything is tied together in a sense. You just have to figure it out for yourself. How does it tie into your life, and how can you manifest it? And man, I don't really know like how you can get a quick download other than meditating. There's you can go on YouTube and research Dr. Joe Dispenza meditations. Because other than that, I would suggest tools under I guess intelligent supervision, and those type of tools are psychedelics. So, and they're not legal, and not here in Texas, so you will have to go to another state. But those psychedelics basically means mind manifesting. So you need to manifest your mind while also having the guidance how to manifest it, so you don't cause yourself any mental damage worse than what we already have. So but if you don't want to take any tools, then you have to use the only thing you actually have in life, which is time, and go deep into yourself, which is called meditation. And you can do that, and it's actually fun once you go into it. But it also requires you to stand still. And for more of that, just Dr. Joe Dispenza. There's other people who are professionals, but I like to follow people who are always up to date to the newest things, and piecing and figuring out how everything ties together. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, not only is he a neuroscientist or a chiropractor, but this motherfucker has been doing this all his life. This is his life purpose. If you don't have a life purpose, it's hard for you to understand what I'm talking about. But once you have a purpose, not a passion, a purpose, it's different. Humans become a different thing. You have a purpose. You know what I mean? Your purpose is no longer just to survive. You literally switch your mind. Like, it becomes a whole different... It's a brain, but it running a certain way, like a certain program. But the moment you let go of that program and switch it to a different thing, you start... I don't know what the fuck it's called. I haven't figured that out, but I know for a fact that if you're running on survival, it's a different mindset than running on a creative mindset, because you're creating, you're not trying to survive. So you have to go to a different mindset. And I think that's, not only is that a fundamental key to building a better mindset, knowing if you're running on fear or love, but I feel like it's key to creating badass shit, not just mediocre stuff. Like, you know, like, and it's not overnight either. You actually, once you find your life purpose and you're building or creating great things, it's your life purpose. It's going to be all your life. Like, it might take 20, 40 years. You may never even achieve your goal, but that's not the point. The point is that now, with each day you're living, you're making a huge difference. Those are called ripple effects. They actually create more of a change than actually just reaching your goal, because once you reach your goal, you're done. You know what I mean? You're like, well, I want to go to a different thing, and then you just stop that manifestation of whatever. If you were manifesting love or whatever your purpose is in life, you know what I mean? Each individual matters. What the things you don't do and the things you do matter in that sense. Everybody's. If you're not doing something, it matters. If you're doing something, it matters. So that's why you want to be aware of how you take full responsibility and full accountability of your thoughts, your actions, to see if you're even being unconditionally loving. And if you're not, why not? And if you're happy without it, good. Then you don't even need this. You're fucking great. You should find your life purpose and manifest that. It'll pay it off. It'll pay off for real. And even if it don't matter, because we're all gonna die. So why not find something that you like? You know what I mean? We know the outcome. That's really the only thing we know is the outcome. So I would say, if you find something that you think is worth doing, fucking chase that shit. Run with it. And the outro. This is the outro. Of course, it's gonna be the same. We are so unconditionally loved that we are led to believe that we're not. And just like every other podcast, I said, how do you bring yourself back to know that you are so unconditionally loved that you're led to believe you're not? Basically, are you taking full responsibility and accountability for your actions? Because you're allowed to believe that you control nothing, yet you are also allowed to believe you control everything. So what I'm saying is, how do you use that to your advantage? Thank y'all for tuning in. And remember, next podcast is self-awareness. It's going to be podcast number 6. And any questions or answers that y'all want to throw my way, send them to themeditatingcowboy@gmail.com. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you.